Welcome to Smarter Canvas Design, Ally and the Accessibility Checker Explained. My name is Valdez Bean, and I'll be walking you through this training today. For an overview of what we'll be discussing today, first we'll be talking about what is Ally. Then we'll talk about Ally's accessibility score gauges. Then we'll talk about Canvas's accessibility checker, as well as page accessibility using Ally and the accessibility checker. Then we'll talk about document accessibility using Ally and Ally's request for help, and then we'll finish it all off with CERT services for document accessibility. So what is Ally? Ally is an accessibility checker integrated into our instance of Canvas. This tool provides feedback on the accessibility of uploaded files and pages, as well as guidance to make documents and pages more accessible. Ally makes it easy to know the accessibility of your pages and documents through accessibility gauges. Ally analyzes documents and pages in Canvas according to a checklist of possible accessibility issues. Then Ally assigns a score to the document depending on the accessibility of the document. These accessibility scores go from 0% or least accessible to 100% or most accessible. To give you an example of what that looks like, I've included a screenshot of a files page onto this slide, where you can see the dark green, light green, orange, and red gauges. The dark green meter means that Ally has not detected any accessibility issues. This doesn't mean that the document is 100% accessible, just that in Ally's checklist, no red flags have gone off. The light green meter means that it is 67 to 99% accessible, which means the file is mostly accessible, but there are some accessibility issues that could still be addressed. The orange meter means that the document is 34 to 66% accessible, which means that the file is somewhat accessible, but needs improvement. And the red meter means that the document is 0 to 33% accessible. And that means that Ally has detected major accessibility issues and that improvement is necessary for an accessible document. Now we can look at what the Ally accessibility scores look like on your pages. Ally analyzes documents and pages in Canvas according to that checklist of possible accessibility issues. For your page example, we have an image of an osprey that has not been given alt text and has been assigned a red accessibility gauge. On that same page, a PowerPoint has been embedded, and it's received an orange gauge, which means that it's somewhat accessible. These accessibility gauges don't show up unless you are a teacher or admin in the course, so that means your students won't see these accessibility gauges on their pages. When editing a page for accessibility, you can go into the Edit mode and look at the Rich Content Editor. The Canvas Accessibility Checker is a built-in tool in the Rich Content Editor on Canvas pages. Similar to how Ally works, the Canvas Accessibility Checker analyzes page content for accessibility based on a checklist of accessibility issues. But you'll also notice that on pages, the Ally score also shows up. So we have two ways of checking your pages to make sure that they're accessible. Let's hop over to Canvas for a page accessibility demo. Here, I have an example page. As you can see, we have some documents, a table, some headings, and some pictures. To edit, we will hit the Edit button. This brings up the Rich Content Editor. As you can see, we have both the Canvas Accessibility Checker and the Ally Accessibility Gauge with issues identified for this page. Sometimes the Ally Accessibility Checker and the Canvas Accessibility Checker will catch different things. This is because they have different checklists when analyzing page content. So sometimes Ally will catch things that the Canvas Accessibility Checker didn't, and vice versa. First, let's take a look at what the Ally gauge caught. It looks like Ally has caught the contrast issues in our text on our page. Something really helpful that Ally does is it allows you to change the colors while you're still within the checker panel. So here we can select black for both of the text issues, and it'll fix it on the page for us. Next, Ally's identified that there are some images without descriptions on the page. Here, we can add our alt text in this box. And then hit Save. The last thing that Ally has caught is that we have issues with our structure. So on here, we can choose the correct heading, which would be heading 3, and hit Apply. Now Ally says that we have a perfectly accessible page. However, it looks like the Canvas Accessibility Checker has caught a couple of things that Ally didn't. The first is that the table that we have on our page doesn't have a caption, which would explain the use of the table. If we were to add a caption to this page, and then hit Apply, it will add the caption to our page. Next, it's caught that we don't have table headers, so we can go ahead and choose the correct table header. In this case, it's a header row, and hit Apply. The next thing that it's caught is that headings should not contain more than 120 characters, and we do have one of those. We could either change the text on the page to be less than 120 characters, or we can change this heading tag to paragraph and hit Apply. The next thing that it's caught is that one of the images on our page has more than 120 characters of alt text. In this case, we could pare down our alt text to under 120 characters and hit Apply. This will fix it. Next, it's caught that we are using two of the same link in the same sentence, but it's separate. In this case, we could hit Merge Links, which sometimes works and sometimes doesn't, or we could go on the page and fix it ourselves. Now that we've gone through both the Ally Accessibility Checker and the Canvas Accessibility Checker, we can rest assured that our page content is as accessible as we can make it. Now that we've discussed page accessibility, let's talk about document accessibility within Canvas. Our main tool for document accessibility is going to be Ally. Ally analyzes documents for accessibility and both offers guidance on how to fix issues and also provides accessibility scores for those documents. Something helpful that Ally offers is that if you're having trouble making a document accessible or fixing a particular issue, you can hit How To, and it will provide you some options on how to fix the issue. If you're really stuck, you can hit this Help button. Then you can describe your issue here, and your request will be sent to CERT Lab. That's us, and we can help you make your document accessible. CERT's Document Services. CERT offers document-specific consultations with me, course reviews, and document remediation assistance. You can access the request form from the QR code on this slide, or on the UNF CERT accessibility website, or if you have access to this slide, the link to the form on this page. This has been Smarter Canvas Design, Ally and the Accessibility Checker explained. My name is Valdis Bean, and if you have any questions, you're more than free to send me an email at v.bean@unf.edu or to our general email at certlab@unf.edu. You can also schedule a consult with me for more one-on-one information.